Hey everyone, this is Nocturne, and tonight I'm gonna show you how to play Radiohead's Man of War using only just one guitar as a means of instrumentation. If you haven't seen my cover of the song, I left a link in the description so you can check it out, and I highly recommend you doing so before watching this tutorial, since this lesson focuses on my version, not the original. So what I've done is basically incorporate the guitar melodies and the bass lines and put them all together in one acoustic guitar to hopefully maintain the overall feel of the song while still being able to perform it alone by playing the guitar and singing. As for this lesson, I've broken everything down into 11 different sequences that you will have to learn in order to master the song. Okay, so the first sequence is one of the simplest in the song. You start off by covering the first three strings with your index finger. So this will remain the same throughout the sequence. The only thing that will change is the note on the second string, and you will use your index to move that note around. As for the picking pattern, you use your fingers 1, 2, and 3, one per string, of your right hand. Do not use your thumb yet, since it will come in handy during the second sequence when you will add the bass notes. So play the first sequence 2 times before moving into the second one, which goes on like this. So the second sequence is where things start to get a bit more interesting, also a bit more difficult, especially if you're already having trouble doing bar chords, because you will have to keep pressure on the first four strings this time around instead of just the first three, on the 5th, 4th, and 3rd frets in order to play the bass notes, all the while still being able to play the same melody as before. In this transition right here, use your 3rd finger on the 4th string, 5th fret to keep your pinky free to go on the 1st string, 7th fret to do this. So everything flows nicely. As for the picking pattern, everything remains the same for the 3 fingers here. You're just adding in the bass notes with the thumb. So you really have, throughout this whole song, keep this in mind, you have to think independently of your 3 fingers and your thumb separately. Because, for an example, in this pattern right here, we're not changing the picking pattern, we're just adding in the bass notes. So everything remains the same. We're just adding the bass. And for this transition right here, use your 1st and 3rd finger, because they're already in place and it just flows more nicely. Okay, so the third sequence is the first half of the verse. The first chord is basically just an A minor chord. The second chord, your 3rd finger stays in the same place. Your 1st finger will have to keep pressure on the strings 2, 3, and 4 on the 1st fret, and your 2nd finger goes to the 6th string, 2nd fret. Then the 3rd chord, your 1st finger goes on the 6th string, 1st fret, your 2nd finger on the 2nd string. Then for this transition, you'll basically do the same shape as in the 2nd chord, only just to add the pinky on the 6th string, 3rd fret. And then there is this part, which is just like an A minor chord, except just moving the 3rd and 2nd fingers up one string each. And I also forgot to mention that when you pull your index in this part, you pull it off at the same time as you play this note right here. As for the picking pattern, it's fairly simple. I'll mention it once again, but this goes for the whole song. Once again, you have to think of your thumb and your fingers independently. This plays the bass and these play the guitar. You will keep your fingers 1, 2, and 3 on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. The only thing that will move around is your thumb, which will switch from the 5th to the 6th string. Now let's move on to the other half. The second half of the verse is a bit easier than the first half because there is less to do with the left hand, and for the picking pattern on the right hand, once you've mastered the 3rd sequence, you're pretty much done for the whole song. The only difference here is that instead of playing the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings, you play the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings with the 3 fingers. So everything remains the same for the right hand. As for the left hand, it's the same chords, just a bit simplified. So you have your basic A minor shape here. Take off the 2nd finger to reposition it on the root note of the 2nd chord. Then you switch for the 3rd chord with your 1st finger on the 1st fret, just like the first half of the verse, and you keep the 2nd string open. And at about this point, be ready to switch your 3rd finger for your 2nd. That way you're ready for the transition. Once you're done with sequence 4, play the 2nd sequence one more time, then the 3rd one more time, and then the 4th one more time, and then you move to sequence 5, the chorus. So for sequence 5, there is really no need to dissect everything I'm doing. If you mastered the 3rd and 4th sequences, you will know how to do this because it's the same chords, and for the picking pattern, it's just pretty much the same thing. Everything is twice as fast, not as in the tempo, but as in the whole rhythm and the pace. Play it one more time. And here, instead of finishing with sequence 5, you will directly go to sequence 6. I really like the 7th sequence. I think it sounds beautiful on an acoustic guitar. Starts off with a C chord, except you only take off your 1st finger. Then you add your 1st finger to the 5th string, 2nd fret, and your 4th finger to the 1st string, 3rd fret. Then you slide your 2nd and 1st fingers to the 7th fret, and your 4th to the 8th fret. Then you remove your 2nd finger and slide your 1st finger to the 10th fret and the 4th finger to the 12th. As for the picking pattern, I'll just play it slowly so you can see exactly what I'm doing. We're That's sequence 8, and this one can be kind of odd for some players because we will use the thumb on our left hand. So it starts off like a regular D chord, except the root note is not a D at all, it will be an F sharp with the thumb. And you cannot do it as a bar chord because you will have to do some pull-offs. After sequence 8 is done, you play sequence 5 another time. Sequence 9 is a variation of sequence 3. It starts off just the same, but instead of doing this, you just remove your first finger and replace it with the fourth finger on the second string, 3rd fret. And then the F chord is played with a bar chord with your first finger on all of the strings of the 1st fret, and you put your second finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Then you just move 1 fret away and you use your 3rd finger on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. Sequence 10 just builds up where sequence 9 left off. Then you will move all the way down 1 octave higher for our F chord. You will play a bar chord on the 8th fret from strings 1 through 5, and you will put your 3rd finger on the 10th fret, 3rd string, and your 4th finger just down below. After doing this, you will play the chorus again, so sequence 5 2 times, the 2nd time breaking it with sequence 6, sequence 7, and sequence 8. Except the 2nd time you do sequence 8, you will play it 1 time normally. And there you will just do the notes slowly. And to the 11th and final sequence. The 11th and final sequence is like the 8th. It's the same chords. It's the basic D chord, except with the F sharp root note, followed by just a regular F chord. So that was it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for taking an interest in learning my version of this song. I hope you enjoyed my lesson, and more importantly, I hope that now you're able to play it without problem. I have tons of other covers and tons of other lessons that I want to make, so we'll see each other very soon again. Have a good one.